Understanding Your Market Study Part 3, Conducting a Desktop Competitive Analysis. When investors want to invest in a senior living property, they will often perform an initial desktop review of the geographic, demographic, and economic conditions of a given area, often starting the search by analyzing regions of the country and scanning for metropolitan areas with the greatest potential to support development. At this point, they must clarify several components of the market in a broad economic sense so that the prospective project will be aligned with market trends and address unmet need. If the initial review of the key metrics indicates that market penetration and the competitive environment are favorable, the next step is to conduct a market study. The primary objective of a market study is to determine whether a market can realistically support new, existing, or planned seniors housing stock. A competitive analysis delivers intelligence that can be used to design or reposition a proposed property and inform strategies such as what to build, how many residences or units to build, and the timing of when to enter a market. Market studies also inform future marketing strategies and help determine if an operator is capable of taking or splitting market share with competitors. During this brief webinar, I will introduce some methods and sources for legally and ethically collecting information about the strengths, weaknesses, and future plans of competitors that will help you monitor trends in the competitive environment. After a review of common best practices, I'll be focusing on some tips for gathering information from unconventional sources that are publicly available and can be obtained online or with a phone call. First, you need to know what you're looking for. Start off by answering the most basic of questions. What is it that you need to know? Ask yourself, what's happening in the marketplace? Is the closest likely competitor planning to add a memory care building? Is occupancy down among incumbent properties because of brand new competition? Where are comparable properties located, and how many and what types of residences do they have? And what are their strengths and weaknesses? And what is the project's market position relative to other senior housing and services providers? As the senior housing sector continues to evolve, it is becoming increasingly important to find out what kinds of services and technologies designed to help seniors age in place are present. And from a marketing strategy and pricing perspective, and to assess the overall financial health of the marketplace, who is offering their prospects discounts and incentives? Note that thinking about why information you need will be available should lead to sources. For instance, to determine if there are any senior housing developments in the pipeline, or if any existing properties are planning an expansion, pick up the phone and contact the local municipal planning and zoning board and ask them what seniors housing, if any, is planned. Also, if the nearest likely competitor has started to offer new services or additional contract offerings, or if you've heard through the grapevine that they've changed how they define their levels of care, do a web search with your state Department of Insurance, Department of Social Services, or Department of Aging. It all depends on what your state calls its agency. Also, change tack and think like your customer to gather the most salient information. Taking a consumer perspective and looking at the marketplace from the eyes of a prospective resident may reveal information that can be leveraged to maximize market share. And contrasting the pros property against comparable properties helps the analyst drill down to the qualities that separate the comparable from the competitive and strengthens and deepens the analysis. Here is an example of a data collection template that is useful for staying organized and ensuring that data gets documented systematically. A form like this can be filled out and kept in a competitor file, and the data from multiple communities can be combined into worksheets, tables, and graphs for side-by-side analysis. Design your own data collection system to gather individual competitor unit types, sizes, unit mix, prices, occupancy rates, and other questions you must have answered. Be sure to include sources, names, titles, and contact information of the people you talk to, and include a date for when the data was collected so there's no ambiguity as to whether or not the data is current. So where can you find the information? The most basic source is competitor websites. However, keep in mind that the amount and quality of information on senior living community websites can be hit or miss. More often than not these days, though, seniors and their families not only demand transparency, but seniors and especially their adult children are shopping online, so communities often post a sample of current prices and incentives. Comb your competitors' websites for press releases that aren't published in the Senior Housing News or local business journal, and even check out the resident newsletters, which can sometimes yield insight about plans for renovations or expansions. Review community photo galleries to shed light on the physical condition and positioning of the community, including sample floor plans. And don't forget to dive into your competitors' corporate websites to uncover broad philosophies and strategies. Also tune into social media. Nowadays, many communities interact with their prospects and resident family members through Facebook. In fact, a recent joint study by ASHA and Leading Age of marketing executives at for-profit and not-for-profit senior living communities all over the country revealed that nearly all of them believe that Facebook is the best medium for communicating with customers. Yelp ratings and Google reviews also offer insight, and LinkedIn holds information on employees and job postings. Make time in your day to read the news from disparate sources. Blogs and discussion forums especially may yield insider information, and job sites like Glassdoor.com offer former employees a platform to describe company culture and morale. And consider paying for information. Not all information is free, and just because you can't find what you're looking for with a Google search or an alternative, perhaps even more creative method, there are a number of very reputable subscriber services, pay-to-use databases, and news aggregators that can provide high-quality and extensive information that is often difficult to extract and resource-intensive to compile. So what are some examples of public data sources? Well, we've mentioned the tried and true like community websites and news and government agencies, but there may be other sources of information that can be tapped. One other source of information about a new development or renovation is architect and builder websites. They often showcase their projects and pictures online and may include community common space square footages, campus and building renderings, unit sizes, unit mixes, and they often also describe the aesthetic that the architect envisions, which can help point towards how the community will be positioned. If you have the time and patience, you'll be surprised at what finds its way to the internet. While random searches aren't advised, try plugging in the community and corporate names into a search engine like common file suffixes such as .pdf, .xls, .ppt, and .doc to retrieve internal documents that find their way to the internet. These can include board presentations, Excel worksheets with budget and occupancy figures, legal filings, and annual reports. And click on the Google Images link where you may come across floor plans, campus and building layouts, and interior and exterior photos. Finally, seek out municipal securities filings online. They are excellent sources of disclosure statements and financial forecasts that can lead to competitor unit data, current pricing, and occupancy forecasts. Highlighted in this screenshot are some especially helpful topics shown in the table of contents of a disclosure statement located online using a web search of the community's business name and the words disclosure statement in quotes. You can also try plugging in the corporation or legal business name, and for higher levels of care, including a license number often yields results too. I highly recommend always trying to obtain a disclosure statement because it will often, depending on the state in which the community is located, contain all of the hard data you need all in one complete package. Most states require the filing of disclosure statements. CCRCs and assisted living communities are typically required to provide prospective residents with a copy of the community's disclosure statement prior to their signing of the resident contract. Don't be afraid to ask a community for the disclosure statement if you can't find it online. It is a public document after all, but if your contact is not cooperative, plan to retrieve it from the relevant state agency in which it's filed. Here are some of the things you'll find in a typical disclosure statement. Name of business and address, name of owners and/or trustees, manager information. Some communities are managed by separate management companies, which are listed in the disclosure statement. Also, description of services provided. This section will list housing, services, and other activities for which the community charges a fee. Description of residence fees. How does the community charge residents? And what are the monthly fee and entrance fee requirements? Affiliation, if any. If the community is affiliated with a church or other organization, the affiliation will be listed. Description of laws and governing of the community. If the community is regulated by state and federal governing bodies, they will be listed here. Also includes financial statements, description of the care provisions, and documentation of future development plans. Here is another screenshot example of the kinds of data you can find in a disclosure statement. This one is showing the number of occupied beds in detail, occupancy, rent, and revenues from a community's assisted living and memory care facility. And this sample statement provides community waitlist and deposit price information and summarizes historical new resident move-ins, turnover rates, and entrance fees. It also tells us what percentage of the skilled nursing patients were admitted from outside the community and the percentage of patient days for the facility by payer for the 3 most recent fiscal years. Next is EMMA, the Electronic Municipal Market Access Search Engine of the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, is a good source for disclosure statements. The MSRB is a regulating body that creates rules and policies for investment firms and banks in the issuing and sale of municipal bonds, notes, and other municipal securities by states, cities, and counties. Also look for state, local, and federal government websites. This one from the state of California is nearly a one-stop shop for planning and development information. As you can see from the screenshot, you can access facility listings, annual utilization reports, and annual financial disclosure reports. Additionally, look for a cost of living comparison worksheet on a competitor website. Oftentimes, the community includes a tool for prospective residents to compare living at the community versus staying at home. From this, you can often determine what services are included in the fees just by reviewing the form. For example, from this calculator, we can tell that this community includes home maintenance and some housekeeping, but not meals. It also includes basic cable and all utilities. One of my favorites is job boards. With the U.S. currently experiencing tight labor markets across broad-based industry sectors and geographic locations, more attention than ever is being paid to labor availability and wage rates. A search of job boards on various platforms such as Monster, LinkedIn, and Indeed.com, and others such as mycnajobs.com can reveal quality information about lack of skilled labor in a marketplace that may necessitate aborting or postponing development or expansion plans in one market or another. Underwriters, senior housing and care operators, and their capital partners are increasingly aware of the effect of a shrinking labor pool on their operations and practices. And more often, market feasibility studies are taking into account the characteristics of not only the senior and adult child influencer demographic, but also employee supply and demand qualities, including the availability and type of worker that can be offered a job, as well as the compensation from other industry sectors that exist for the same potential employee. Thus, a review of the job boards for a particular locale may reveal not only labor shortages, but also the types of jobs that need to be filled. You can also deduce employee turnover at the highest levels and anticipate new seniors housing development or expansions. I should also mention Glassdoor as a source of internal intelligence. Glassdoor is a website that allows current and past employees to rate their employment experiences. What you find here can shed light on a competitor's work culture and employee satisfaction. Finally, I want to show you a simple Google web search of a particular community name and click the link to images, which brings a lot of information that not only helps you visualize the community, but also includes links to the websites where pictures reside. In this example, clicking on the site plan picture takes you to a news article about the community's expansion plans. So in summary, in conducting your desktop competitive intelligence project, use all the publicly available tools. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call those that have the information that you're seeking. Often this will be the community itself or a state or local agency. And consider sharing information with competitors. Many a marketing director would welcome the opportunity to have access to the data that's being collected to save time when that time of the year rolls around when the market plan needs to be updated. Many senior living operators have adopted a practice of transparency, which advances their credibility and that of the industry. But the favor may not always be reciprocated in markets with heavy competition or by communities experiencing occupancy challenges. Indeed, with a few probing phone calls to local competitors should give you and the analyst a feeling for the competitive intensity of the marketplace by observing how they respond to requests for information. Some will certainly be more forthcoming than others. And finally, be creative in searching for information in some of the less common ways. Get organized to ensure thorough data collection the first time you make contact, as it is often always difficult to re-contact a source or even remember where you found source materials. And always make sure to include the dates of when data was collected so that the data will be relevant until future updates. And if you do all of this, you will be well prepared for the next step, which is site visits. With the hard data already in hand, during the site visits, you can focus on more of the soft or subjective aspects of the competitive analysis, or circle back to gather information that was unavailable from the desktop. This concludes our webinar, Competitive Analysis from Your Desktop, the third installment of the series of articles entitled Understanding Your Market Study. If you would like to learn more, go to www.nic.org and search the 2017 blog posts with keywords Market Study. And also check out the Insider newsletter for articles published in the February and May editions. In closing, we would like to invite you to the 2017 NIC Fall Conference, which will be held this year from Tuesday, September 26 to Thursday, September 28. Registration is open on June 6, and the early bird deadline for registration is August 1st. Look for more information about the conference in the following weeks. Thank you.